Last year, a Chinese company you've probably never heard of sold 4.27 million electric vehicles. Tesla, 1.8 million. BYD didn't just beat Elon Musk, they crushed him. And here's the terrifying part. If you're watching this in America, you literally cannot buy one. Not because they're unavailable, not because they're illegal, but because there's a protection racket running at the highest levels of government that's forcing us to pay double, sometimes triple, what the rest of the world pays for electric cars. Today, I'm going to show you the numbers they don't want us to see, the tariffs they're hiding behind national security, and why American automakers are so terrified of Chinese EVs that they've convinced Washington to build a wall around our wallets. Before we dive in, everything you're about to hear is sourced from CNN Business, Rest of World, Al Jazeera, South China Morning Post, and official BYD press releases. All links are in the description. I encourage you to verify every claim yourself, because what you're about to hear sounds unbelievable, but it's all documented. Let's get into yet another episode of Classified Report. Let's start with something they can't spin. BYD sold 4.27 million vehicles in 2024. That's a 29% jump from the previous year. Their revenue, $107 billion. For context, that's larger than the GDP of 140 countries. But here's where it gets interesting. In China's domestic market, BYD controls 32% of all new energy vehicle sales. Tesla, just 6.1%. That means for every Tesla sold in the world's largest EV market, BYD sells 5 vehicles. Now, you might think, okay, they're dominating China, so what? Here's what. Between November 2024 and October 2025, Chinese car brands released 91 out of 180 new car models globally. That's more than half of every new car on planet Earth. Meanwhile, Volkswagen, the largest automaker in Europe, released just 50 new electric models in that same period. BYD alone got approval for 38 new car models in China in the year leading up to October 2025. Tesla, 3. Let that sink in. The company Elon Musk claims is leading the EV revolution released 3 new models, while BYD launched 38. That's not competition, that's a slaughter. So if BYD is making better cars faster than anyone else, what do they cost? BYD's entry-level model, the Seagull, starts at $10,600 in China for an electric car, with air conditioning, with a touchscreen, with modern safety features. Tesla's cheapest Model 3 in the US, $32,740. That's 3 times more expensive for a vehicle that spec for spec is often matched or beaten by BYD's technology. BYD's Blade battery is safer. It passed extreme nail penetration tests that cause other lithium batteries to explode. Their Han EV has a 605-kilometer range that's 376 miles on a single charge, and it brakes from 100 kilometers an hour in just 32.8 meters, better than most gas-powered sports cars. Now here's the question nobody in Washington wants to answer. If a Chinese company can sell a safe, reliable, and long-range electric car for $10,600, why does Tesla charge $32,000? The answer is simple, because they can, because American automakers have spent decades lobbying to keep competition out. And it's working. In 2025, the United States maintains a 27.5% tariff on Chinese-made vehicles. That's on top of the standard 2.5% tariff applied to all imported cars. So if BYD wanted to sell a $15,000 vehicle in America, that car would immediately cost $19,125 before it even reaches a dealership. At shipping, dealer markup, and compliance costs, and you're looking at $25,000 minimum, still cheaper than Tesla, but now expensive enough that most Americans would think twice. But here's what's really happening. American automakers Ford, GM, Stellantis have convinced Congress that Chinese EVs are a national security threat. They claim that Chinese cars could be used for surveillance, that they could be remotely disabled by the Chinese government, that allowing BYD into the US market would compromise American infrastructure. And yet somehow BYD EV buses are running in California right now. BYD has a manufacturing plant in Lancaster, California, where they build electric buses and batteries. So Chinese-made electric vehicles are fine for public transportation, where they carry dozens of Americans every day, but not for personal use? The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Either Chinese EVs are a security threat or they're not. You can't have it both ways. While Americans are locked out, the rest of the world is buying BYD vehicles by the millions. In the UK, BYD sold 11,271 vehicles in September 2025 alone, an 880% surge over the previous year, making Britain its largest market outside China. In Brazil, BYD opened a mega factory at a former Ford plant. In Thailand, Indonesia, and across Southeast Asia, BYD is building full manufacturing and service ecosystems rather than just exporting cars. And here's the part that should terrify American automakers. BYD now owns 8 car carrier ships. The largest can transport 9,200 vehicles at a time. They're not waiting for third-party logistics, they're building their own supply chain from battery cell to customer driveway. China controls 70% of global EV production. They control rare earth materials. They control battery production. According to the International Energy Agency, China is the EV supply chain. And American automakers? They're still trying to figure out how to make a profit on electric vehicles, while Chinese companies are already moving on to solid-state batteries and battery swap stations. Let's talk about something nobody wants to admit. American automakers are slow. Between January 2024 and October 2025, the Volkswagen Group introduced around 50 new electric vehicles globally. Nissan got approval for 2 new models. BYD, 38. 38. And it's not just quantity, it's speed. Mark Royce, president of General Motors, admitted in an interview that Chinese brands achieve efficiency through fixed supplier relationships that cut sourcing and styling time. Translation, American companies are bureaucratic dinosaurs, and Chinese automakers are sprinting circles around them. BYD announced a new battery in March 2025 that charges enough for 400 kilometers, that's 250 miles, in 5 minutes. 5 minutes! Tesla superchargers take 15 to 30 minutes for a comparable charge. And where is this revolutionary battery available? China only. Pre-orders in China only. Because American consumers, we don't get access to the best technology. We get the leftovers after China's domestic market is satisfied. Here's the question that should keep you up at night. Who benefits from keeping Chinese EVs out of America? It's not consumers. We're forced to pay $32,000 for a Tesla when the rest of the world can buy a comparable BYD for $15,000. It's not the environment. Fewer people buy EVs when they're prohibitively expensive, which means more gas cars on the road. It's not innovation. American automakers have no incentive to improve when they face no real competition. The only people who benefit are the executives and shareholders of Ford, GM, Tesla, and Stellantis. The same companies that spent decades fighting fuel efficiency standards, the same companies that killed the electric car in the 1990s, the same companies that are now wrapping themselves in the American flag and screaming national security while quietly lobbying Congress to keep prices high and competition out. And here's the most damning statistic. Global trust in Chinese brands sits at just 30%, according to the 2024 Edelman Trust Barometer. But here's what that number doesn't tell you. People are buying BYD vehicles anyway, because at the end of the day, when a safe, reliable car costs $10,600 instead of $32,000, trust takes a back seat to affordability. So here's where we're at. The world's largest EV maker sells cars for 1/3 the price of American EVs. They're building them faster, with better technology, and they're expanding globally while American companies are shrinking market share. And we, American consumers, are locked out by tariffs that have nothing to do with safety and everything to do with protecting corporate profits. BYD beat Tesla. That's not an opinion, that's math. 4.27 million vehicles versus 1.8 million, $107 billion in revenue, 32% market share in China versus Tesla's 6.1%, and the gap is widening. The real question isn't why Americans can't buy BYD cars. The real question is how much longer will we accept paying double for inferior products just because our government decided to protect billionaires instead of consumers? Drop a comment below. Let me know if I'm wrong about this, because I'd love to be wrong about this. But the numbers don't lie.